If there are any questions or comments in the room, certainly we'd open up the dialogue to hear from you. I think we have one over here on the right. Thank you.
Hi, thank you, Dr. Cannon. My name's Kate Jacobson. I'm a student at the University of Calgary, and with regards to market modifiers, I was wondering how the university justifies pursuing budgetary decisions that the majority of students disagree with.
Thank you very much. I'm going to turn to Drew to answer that question. It's the president's prerogative.
Thanks for the question, Kate. One comment, I will say that about tuition, just to give some background for people in the room. So again, we all come from a common understanding. Tuition in Alberta is regulated. It's regulated according to CPI. This is different than across other jurisdictions in the country. So while we have been increasing tuition at 1% to 2%, and in one case 0, other institutions have been increasing anywhere from 3 to 7%. That's one point. Second point, when we talk about market modifiers, the government previously allowed one time, 2010, an opportunity for market modifiers, and they announced in July that they would introduce the same opportunity. We've been talking for sure at these town halls before, and certainly have signaled in our CIP, our comprehensive institutional plan, if we ever had an opportunity to do market modifiers again, we would do so. It is the one way that we can modulate income to the university. The other thing people should know is we have an opportunity to submit 3, because some of the faculty members in the room might not know this. We approached all of our deans who submitted proposals. We got 7 proposals in with 2 verbal requests, so 9 in total. We chose 3. The 3 that were selected were engineering, the MBA, and the JD degree in the Faculty of Law. And they come with various levels that I'd be happy to present if people want more information. 2 out of 3 student groups have written conditional letters of support for the market modifiers that were proposed. So Kate, what I would say is, it's difficult for me when I've got 2 out of 3 letters to say that the majority of students disagree, because certainly the students that are in programs where they see the changes that are going to be made have written letters of support. The other comment I would make, because I want to make sure this is really clear, because I have received many emails that indicate a fundamental misunderstanding of what we are proposing. Anybody that is a current student in a program is not going to be affected by a market modifier. And these market modifiers are applied over a course of time, not at one time.
Is there a follow-up question to that, or?
Yes, actually. Perhaps I can re-clarify my question. The majority of undergraduate engineering students disagree with this proposal, yet I presume you're still planning to submit this proposal to the provincial government. How do you justify that, and is there any kind of separation between the proposals?
Okay, so let me answer the first question. When we talked, and we've had significant consultation on our campus relative to other campuses, when we talked to the engineering students, I think the question for consultation for us was, we are going to do a market modifier. What do you think is important in improving your quality of program? I think the students in engineering wanted to ask the question, can we have a market modifier or not? Those are 2 fundamentally different questions. When we look at the budget, we're looking at enhancing the program. The other thing I can say, I met with the engineering students last week, the 3 leaders, 2 from the SU and the ESS president. We had a very respectful conversation. They raised some excellent points. I hope they think I raised some excellent points as well. And I think we probably will agree to disagree on the idea of a market modifier, but certainly where the money has been put and what it is being used for, the students have had input into. And your second question was around different rates for different programs?
I was wondering if it's possible to submit proposals for the MBA and law program separately from engineering, given the students in those faculties agree.
Thank you. So we are submitting 3 proposals, and all of them, so you don't submit, you submit as a group, I suppose, but all 3 are going to be looked at individually, and in the end, it will be a government decision as to whether those proposals are approved or not. And I can tell you in the last round, I think there were 6 in total out of 25 that were submitted that were approved. And so this will be a government decision in the end.
And I just want to add on to that, because I've not been involved in sort of the day-to-day discussions with students, but certainly have been apprised of the dialogue and meet with Jared Henry and his colleagues. But I want to give credit to the students, and I want to give credit to Drew and Linda and their teams. I'm very proud of the process, and one could argue about it, but I think if you compare to other institutions in this process, in this province, the level of dialogue and consultation, whether there's an agreement at the end of the day as to whether it should be put forward, has been very respectful. I think it's been transparent, and I think, given the time, very fulsome. So I just want to give credit to the students and the administration for the hard work that they have done in putting a business case forward to government, and as Drew said, the government's the one that's going to have to decide at the end of the day. Other questions in the room? Yes, we'll take one here.
And Elizabeth, I just, while we're waiting, want to thank the deans and the
Yes.
in the faculties that
That's right, exactly.
are
And the
proposing
student
market
leaders in those
modifiers.
faculties. Yes.
Hi, my name's Sean, and I'm in geoscience. And you say that the money from market modifiers is going towards enhancing the quality of education for engineering students, but 30% of it is going towards administration. What is that money going to be used for?
Okay, that's a really good question, and one that I've explained to 2 out of the 3 student groups. We have a fundamentally different way of operating at the University of Calgary than many of our counterparts. So where many institutions use a decentralized model, and I explained today the IS squared model, or integrated services delivery, we have centralized services for human resources, IT, and finance, and fund development, and we're about to do that for communications. So those are held between the central administration and between the faculties. But essentially what I've said to students, that model, where most of those costs would typically be in a faculty, and so when a faculty at another institution might say only 20% of the costs or 10% of the costs are going to central administration. In this case, 30%, 2 reasons. One, it follows the resource allocation model that we spent a significant amount of time developing for our institution. 70% of any new dollar coming in goes to the VPA and the VPR to divvy up as they see fit. 30% goes to the other portfolios, vice presidential portfolios, to help run the university. In this regard, so it follows a financial model that the community was part of setting. And secondly, we've suggested that this money centrally would go to fund things that would benefit all students. Things like IT, wireless, classroom upgrades, library collections, amongst others.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Bruce, do we have a question from somebody live streaming?
We do. Is this on? Oh,
Yes.
there we go. We've got about 160 people online, and I only have one question. I'm not sure if the online viewers think that they have to donate to close the budget gap if they ask a question. It's not the case. This one comes from Chris Turner, who's a service agent in the Integrated Service Center. He says, I have a question for the Budget Town Hall today. You've identified some funding gaps in the budget presentation. It seems like government has a big role to play in all of this. Can you tell me about how you work with government to address those gaps?
That's an excellent question, and it's a primary responsibility, certainly of mine, and as well as Drew's and Linda's and others on the executive team and members of our board, to dialogue with government. And of course, one recognizes that here in Alberta we've had a little bit of turnover in our government leaders. We have a new premier who's been in place for a relatively short time, and we also have a new minister who's only been in his role for about 3 to 4 weeks. We've made contact with the minister. We had a very good discussion about a week and a half ago at a high level. We talked about a number of the pressures on us at the University of Calgary, the need for that sustainable, predictable funding that was alluded to through the conversation, but also talked very much about investment in the University of Calgary. We want to get credit, if you will, for the hard work that we have done as a community. This is an institution that is on a solid financial footing. I think we're being very strategic and disciplined and rigorous on what we do and what we don't do. And we feel that every dollar that is invested by government in the University of Calgary is a dollar of opportunity. At other institutions, a dollar of investment may be to help facilitate a financial challenge that the institution may have gotten themselves into. This is an institution where we feel we are ready to grow, we're ready to invest, and we're ready to deliver at a higher level of quality and excellence. But we need that sustained, predictable funding from government to get there. So we are working closely with government at all levels to make our points very, very clear. And certainly over the fall, as we get into budget season, we spend a lot of time in Edmonton talking to all levels of government to really get the point across about the needs of the sector across Alberta and certainly of the University of Calgary. We need funds to be sustainable. We need funds to grow our access in terms of more students. And we need additional funds, even with the various cranes that you see doing construction on this campus. We need additional facilities to support student growth. And that's not just me saying this. This is the government's own data. When they look at the growth of Calgary, the demand for degree granting programs, and the flavor of degree programs that we offer here at the University of Calgary, this is an institution that will be under increasing stress, if you will, for access to our programs and our facilities. So we do need that investment. We work very closely with government. And I think they're hearing us, but the proof will be in the pudding, as was noted with that red dot in March. Great question. Thank you. Back over here.
Hi, my name is Dave Antoniak. I'm one of the members on the Engineering Student Society. I had a question directly related to the market modifier proposal that is going in for the engineering students in the Schuler School of Engineering. And my question is that when it comes to a market modifier, the whole idea is to address an anomaly in the market. And other than the rather ill idea of a price tag on tuition, that seems to be the only issue between us and the other U15 schools. So my question for you guys specifically is, other than straight tuition cost, what market anomaly do you see that justifies this proposal in itself compared to our other peer schools? Like, where else are you basing your proposal on?
Thank you. Great question.
So market modifiers are around market, number one. So I'm just going to show you a graph on engineering tuition, because I want everybody to see this. And you'll see right now, here's the current U of C tuition. It is about $8,000 below peer averages that have been selected for this comparison. The Calgary proposal that we're putting in, which is $170 per engineering course, relates to, and will put us basically even with the University of Alberta. So when we talk about market, we currently are 33% below the national average. Getting us to this level is going to generate about $3.8 million. University of Alberta got their market modifier 4 years ago. Imagine if you could have $4 million for a dean to spend on program improvements. So I know one of the things I said to the university, to the engineering students when I met with them, because the engineering students did as they do every year, a questionnaire, which I thought was very valuable for them to do, but I didn't necessarily agree with the wording of some of the questions. And I will say we had a fundamental disagreement on how we interpreted the data. So when I got the results of the data, I actually thought it supported a market modifier. They interpreted it that everybody was happy, so it was okay. So the main question was, are you satisfied with the quality of education you currently have? And I think it was 70% said yes, or it was excellent or very good, in that range. Waterloo, which is widely regarded as one of the top engineering schools in Canada, has an 88% satisfaction. And my point to the students in engineering is, for me as provost, 7 out of 10 people being happy with the quality of their education is just not good enough. And that is not a condemnation on the current engineering program, but it tells me we need to do something different so students have a great experience when they come here. And that's one of the reasons why we're doing this.
Thank you very much. Great question. We have another question, perhaps.
May I ask a follow-up,
Sure,
actually, if
sure.
I may? So looking at, let's use the example for Waterloo, for example. You said they have an 88% agreement with that they are happy with their, with the education that they are given. And based on the graph here, my question before was, is there anything other than the tuition cost that you are considering to represent this differential between the happiness of the students? So what other options are you looking at to
Well, we looked
say,
at
look at the
NASI
difference?
scores.
Okay.
So we looked at the National Survey of Student Engagement. We've looked at different questionnaires that have been done, and we think there are changes that are required in addition to this. So those were the main things that we did. And I know the other thing that the students talked about in their questionnaire was one of the things, because I thought the students asked some very good questions. If you had a markup modifier, what would you use it for? And one of them was to improve the quality of teaching. And so you'll see that the focus really in the markup modifier for the Schulich School of Engineering is around how that might occur.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next question, and then we'll go back, Bruce, to the live streaming, but go ahead.
All right, I'm Kaylin Schnell. I'm an undergraduate student in engineering as well. So you referenced the QS rankings, and the U of C's QS rankings show us scoring highly in everything except accessibility to education and especially to low-income outreach. So do you think you should be doing more to kind of mitigate the financial burden on low-income students coming into the school? I know that there's a lot of scholarships that lots of the money is going towards, but do you think causing all students to pay more for their education, allowing some to have less of a financial burden, is a fair way to increase accessibility as a whole?
Yeah, I really appreciate the question. And accessibility is something we worry about all the time. And we give out just under $80 million worth of scholarships. We're in the midst of a registrarial search right now, and one of our questions to the registrarial candidates that we've had is how we look at giving out scholarships and whether we've got the scholarship dollars that we currently use in the right places. And certainly bursaries and student need is an area that we're concerned with, that we want to look at very, very carefully. But have we done a good enough analysis? I will say to anybody here in the room, I know students want to talk about student debt. We have statistics that indicate the Alberta Student Loan Program is one of the best in the country. We give out a fair amount of scholarship funding, and we would encourage any student that's in financial need to come and see our Student Financial Aid Office.
Thank you. I think before we continue here, I'm going to, Bruce, just ask if there's any more from live streaming.
We do have one online here. It comes from Michael Ulyat, the Associate Professor in the Department of English, also the Associate Dean of Teaching and Learning in the Faculty of Arts. He says, I'd like to hear more about the new models for program delivery that education has initiated. Can they enhance student learning while helping the university meet its budgetary constraints? I.e., can we have it both ways?
Actually, I think Michael was a member of the Teaching Technologies Task Force. Certainly, we talked about the education model a lot. It is a particular model that we think has some merit across the institution. The deans have all had a discussion with Dennis Samara, our Dean of Education, on how they did it in the Faculty of Education. And I think many of them are considering how we manage that process. And my sense is that the learning outcomes in the Faculty of Education, School of Education, the Workland School of Education, have been very positive.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to go back here. We've got 3 at the mic, and I know we've got about 6 or so minutes. So if I could ask you to have a brief question so we could make sure we get through everybody. Go ahead.
All right. Hi, my name is Christine Ochetois. I'm the president of the Engineering Student Society. First of all, I just wanted to thank you guys for putting this together and answering our questions today. My question is specifically about the proposals that you will be submitting to the government tomorrow, October 15th. Yeah. In 2010, when you guys submitted proposals, they did go up on the UCalgary website, and I was just wondering when we can expect to see the final proposals on the website this year.
It's a really good question. I don't think we've decided how we're going to do that, Christine, yet. We need to talk with our university relations people about what the final will look like. I don't think we have anything to hide in these proposals. I think As I've said before, and certainly Elizabeth has talked about that, we've had a very open process to date. I can tell you the ministry is not requiring us to share identical proposals, but it's probably good that the students see them. Yeah.
Thank you. Next question.
Hi, my name is Arthur Liu. I'm also part of ESS. My question is, why isn't McGill on the graph or other Quebec schools?
We have not included Quebec schools on this chart, and we typically don't in any of the tuition comparators because the tuition model in Quebec is so drastically different.
So where would McGill rank?
McGill is lower for Quebec students, and I think just above average for out-of-province students.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. 2 more questions, and then we're going to wrap up.
Hey, my name's Keen Bexty. I'm a Faculty of Science student. So I haven't been part of this uproar we're seeing from the engineering students. I was wondering if you could tell me, is there sort of a sunset clause on this market modifier thing? If the government does come out with the 2% increase that you guys would like, or that fund comes up, will you guys look at stopping this?
So the process, we've signaled to students at the Tuition Fees and Consultation Committee CPI increases for the year that are allowable are June to June, 2.2%. We've signaled to the students that base increase, we're going to go for the full amount, and we're just in the process of consulting with students about that. In terms of market modifiers, proposals are due tomorrow. Government is supposed to make a decision by November 17th. And once those decisions are made, if any are approved by the government, we will take them forward to our Board of Governors for approval in the December Board of Governors meeting, which is typically when we approve tuition increases.
Okay, I guess I should clarify then. If everything is approved, is there, and then after that, you do end up getting more money from the government from that grant, will you be looking at stopping the withdrawing, stopping taking the money from the students from the market modifiers, should you have that money?
Not at this time.
Thank you.
Okay, last question to wrap up. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Alex. I'm a third-year business student. And while I maybe aren't, I guess, as specifically concerned with this issue as Schulich students are, I think that I can speak for most of the people here that the issue with instruction is more of a quality issue than a quantity issue. So first of all, I want to ask what you think throwing money at the problem is going to actually do to solve the issues with the inherent quality of instruction. And secondarily, I see a problem with the approach that administration is taking. You're making it sound as if not that this is a necessity for the further operation of the university, but that this is in the students' best interest. Shouldn't you be considering more the students' opinion on what's in their best interest rather than telling us what's going to be in our best interests?
Okay, so loaded question. Couple of things. So your first question again?
I think that it's an issue of quality, not quantity. So how is throwing more money at the Faculty of Engineering or other faculties going to improve instruction when the general trend here is that the instruction isn't of good quality at all?
So if you take a look at the proposals, I think you'll see how the money is going to be spent. And I wouldn't say we're throwing money at a problem. So let's take engineering, for example. As more students have come into the program, classroom size has grown. If instructors are not able to or don't understand how to do large classes, which we hope that most professors would do, and we try and encourage them to do that, but if we have an issue with that, the quality in the classroom suffers. They have more students to deal with, they have less time to do their work, and so one of the pieces of the proposal, for example, is to increase number of staff, but increase a particular type of staff that really is going to focus on teaching, which has been the main issue that the students have identified. So I would say at the University of Calgary, we actually have done more than any other institution in the province around finding out what students really want. Certainly I can tell you in law and in MBA the same thing has occurred, and proposals in every case have been modified based on student feedback.
Okay, I think we're going to have to in the...
What about the second question?
Second question?
Well, I asked you why you think that you're acting in the student's best interest, and how you aren't how you're completely discounting the interest of the students and what they think is in their best interest. You're not approaching this as an ideology of this is necessary for the continued operation of the university. You're trying to tell us what's in our best interest, and I don't think the students really appreciate the tone and mentality that's being given to them.
Oh, sorry, I guess that's one place where we'll respectfully agree to disagree. We have not approached the students without talking to them about what they think they need in their program, fundamentally.
Okay, well, if that's your answer, then that's fine.
Okay, I think we're going to close there. It's a few minutes after 2 o'clock. I will say that thank you, Linda and Drew. We will all be around for a little bit at the front of the room if you want to come and ask us some questions. I want to thank everyone for coming out today. I want to thank everyone who live streamed. These are very important dialogues to have. We appreciate the frankness in the room and the opportunity for us as administration to be able to engage in that type of dialogue. There will be additional discussion over the next months as we come to further clarity on our budget situation. And with that, I want to thank everyone and have a great day. Thank you.